thank you to our witnesses today. Certainly, from what you've said, it definitely echoes what we've heard from other witnesses in terms of jurisdictional areas, funding from 3 levels of government, and certainly, just as a local MP, I have found it extremely challenging knowing where various ratepayers groups should apply, in fact, for funding. So, Mr. Field, if you could just elaborate a little bit more. I mean, you're talking about a transfer of funds from the federal level to the provincial level that would then work with municipalities. I think, as we all know, that with COVID-19, the issue of broadband access really does have a national imperative or responsibility to a certain extent. So there has been a recommendation of a broadband czar at the federal level, as an example, to try and coordinate, at least at the federal level, what exactly is required in terms of access and affordability for internet services across the country. How do you actually see your model in operational terms? How exactly would it work when you say the 3 levels need to collaborate, knowing full well that that often doesn't happen?
Thank you for the question. So first and foremost, I think by transferring funds from the federal government to the provincial and municipal governments doesn't necessarily take away the role of the federal government. I mean, I think coordination is absolutely key to make sure that there is a coordinated plan across the country. The existing SWIFT project right now is an example of that funding regime that I talked about. We are funded effectively in equal parts by the federal and the provincial government. The federal government, through Infrastructure Canada, provides funds to the federal government. The provincial government. The provincial government has a contribution agreement with SWIFT, and they disperse the federal and the provincial funds to us. In addition to that, the municipalities, the member municipalities of SWIFT have made a contribution in excess of $20 million, and that continues to grow, by the way, to the program. So effectively, they're all working together in that regime to provide funding down to the regional level. Not in every case, I'm sure it doesn't make sense to do regional projects. In Southwestern Ontario, absolutely it does. We've shown that it can be effective. We have EORN in Eastern Ontario that is they have a regional project as well that's equally effective. So I think in certain circumstances there are benefits to pushing that money down to the regional programs.
The federal government recently introduced a Pathfinder program that was designed to assist applicants. Have you had any experience with that, and can you tell us what you think of it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the Pathfinder program is a program that's attached to the Universal Broadband Fund, and it's I think they call it a concierge service that allows the ISPs, when they're applying for funding through the UBF, to call up and have somebody to talk to walk them through various issues they may be having, and that certainly works well within the UBF fund. I'm currently working with Peely Island here in southwestern Ontario to put an application into the UBF fund, and we've used that service, and it's effective. I think, though, we're talking at a higher level as to how we coordinate all of the various funds, all of the various monies that are out there into something that's more efficient.
In other words, it would cover each of the various funds. In other words, the rapid response stream and these other buckets of funding. It should be coordinated across all of those.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, Mr. Field, you did emphasize that you were talking about accessibility, but as you know, this study is to explore affordability as well. And it strikes me that you are somewhat objective on the affordability issue. So do you have any comments in terms of what the federal government might do to improve affordability? We've heard about the Connecting Families program. Any insights from the work you've been doing in southwestern Ontario?
Yeah, so again, my forte is more on the accessibility side, but I do have some opinions. So I think first and foremost, by creating by giving people access to networks, you are effectively handling part of the affordability issue. Right now, we hear from families in southwestern Ontario all the time that have, two or three different cell phone plans because they have to tether their computer to a cell phone to get their broadband. It's not uncommon for me to hear from people that are spending 7, 8, 900 up to $1,000 a month just on their cellular bill because of this issue. So I think by solving the accessibility issue, you are in fact helping to solve some of the affordability. I do think competition is a good thing in driving down prices. Most of the funding that's out there today requires open access, and I think that access to networks that are funded by the various levels of government is important, and it needs to be done in a fair and transparent way.